Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Elevating Your Life. I am thrilled to share with you just an amazing woman. I have with us today Benig Mauger. She is an internationally known Jungian psychotherapist, inspirational teacher, and workshop leader, author of many acclaimed books, a frequent speaker at national and international events on psychological healing, spiritual wellness, and how to live an empowered and soulful life. She is a pioneer in pre- and perinatal psychology. Her groundbreaking book, Songs from the Womb, led to media exposure, seminars, and workshops in the following years in the USA and Europe. She has written several books. Her recent work and writing is aimed at helping others learn how to heal from within. She lives and works in Connemara, hope I pronounced that correctly, Ireland. I am so excited to have you here today, and we will be discussing today her most recent book, The Soul and the Sea, Essential Healing for Everyday Life. I absolutely loved it. So first off, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Paula. I'm delighted to be here and to share my work. It's always wonderful, particularly with fellow souls on the other side of the planet in some way.
Isn't that fun? Isn't it just so fun that we can just connect across the world? I just love that. Love Zoom. Well, first off, you've written so many books. You've made such a difference for so many people. It's just so fantastic. Share a little more of your background and kind of what that's been like for you and what's triggered you to do what you do.
Well, I didn't start out as a writer. I initially was, I think the start of my journey was my own birth, which was very difficult, under difficult circumstances. My parents were refugees from France in Ireland in the 50s. But I moved to the UK and with my husband, and I set up a birth center which was preparing women and couples for childbirth. So I was very involved with pre and perinatal and with the importance of life in the womb. That led to my first book, Songs from the Womb, which looks at the formative impact of life in the womb, but also the spiritual aspects of birth, which wasn't really looked at that time. And then I was doing training in psychoanalytic psychotherapy. And so I brought that into my work and began a private practice in the UK. Then I moved back to Ireland in 1995, and I continued writing. My second book was about the role of the father and how different he is in our life. The role of the father is very different to the mother, and how our experience of being father influences our life. And then I moved on and wrote about the heartbreak and emotional relationships and what happens when love breaks down. But all the time, and then we have my current book, all the time I was working in the field as a Jungian psychotherapist, but alongside that was my spiritual practice, which really has increased over time. For a good 10 years, I have a spiritual master, and I more and more have learned that in order to truly heal ourselves emotionally, we need to go further than psychology and combine the insights of depth psychology with a spiritual practice. And so I still have a practice. I'm getting into the third age of the feminine and a grandmother, etc. I live by the sea, and I'm very informed by the spirituality in nature and in the earth. And so this book, The Soul and the Sea, was written very quickly, actually, during the first lockdown pandemic, and when we were all forced to stay at home. But in my case, it was a good experience because I lived by the sea and there was no one around. So it was a wonderful way of going within. And
Yes.
really my aim is to help people to understand that we have immense power within ourselves to heal. And that because we have been disconnected for so long from our divine heritage, we kind of lost the sense of that. And we often are taught to look outside of ourselves for both healing and love and lots of other things. And now we're in a time, I feel the book is timely because we're in a time of unprecedented spiritual awakening. I'm sure you would agree with me. And therefore, it throws us back on ourselves and how we ourselves can heal and can actually have the power to heal our emotional wounds. So that in a nutshell, that's a long way of me answering your question.
Yes, yes. And it's so true that, the sea, our connection to the sea, just the sound of the waves, I believe, can be so healing. And
Oh, yeah.
we are so connected to that. I totally agree. There's so much to that.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say is your main theme for Soul in the Sea? What can a reader expect from that?
I think, well, many people have said they love the style of the book because I didn't plan it, but instead of chapters, I have rooms. So there's a red room, a green room. There are different rooms, but within the rooms, we encounter different aspects of our psyche. And so what can readers expect? I think most people find it very easy to read because it reads as a narrative, and I bring myself into it a lot because it's how I teach. And the second part of the book, you will learn really about the god. In the pink room, we meet the goddess Aphrodite, for example, and you will learn, how your relationship with love and loving might be, and whether you're an Aphrodite woman. In the green room, you'll learn a bit about the in the blue room about the inner marriage and the balance of the two. So it brings in Jungian concepts, such as archetypes, and puts it in a storytelling way so that people can identify with all these universal human experiences. And the second part of the book is more practical because it takes the reader into healing rooms, into the therapy rooms, so as I call them, and to witness the healing of birth wounds, the healing of wounds of bereavement and how we deal with that. And there are practical aspects to it, such as having a spiritual practice, affirmations, what else? Also the function of dreams and how you should keep a note of your dreams and journaling and all this kind of regular Jungian type of work that we do in my practice.
Something in your book that I just loved, you brought up dreams, is you have a quote: "Once we get used to listening to our dreams, our whole body responds like a musical instrument." Mm. That is a beautiful statement.
Yeah. That was Marion Woodman, I believe, who was a wonderful Jungian analyst who's passed away now. Yes, I use a lot of poetry as well in my work anyway, because I feel very inspired by the works, for example, of the sacred poets like Rumi and the mystical poets, who really speak about this connection to the divine, but in a way that is so human. And so I use poetry in the book quite a lot. And as I say, bring in my own life. And most particularly, I think people will identify with many parts of the book where, for example, how we heal a sense of abandonment. And many of us had this sense of abandonment. And it's, you know, okay, it's important to look back at our childhood and maybe examine in a normal psychotherapeutic way our early life. But we need to go beyond that then. And how do we move forward? How do we heal ourselves? How do we, you know, get to that place of healing and wholeness? So, which is why the book, I feel, you know, The Soul and the Sea. Well, the sea, I suppose, why did I call it that? I don't know. I think because this, I felt it was about me and the sea, really, and the soulful aspect of the sea, and how she's the great mother, and she speaks, you know, to us. And nature, everybody discovered the importance of and the nurturing and healing aspect of nature during the pandemic, didn't they? You know, in a sense, if there was a silver lining to the miserable times we've been through, that has been that most people have learned a little bit about what's important, what's really important, that the heart.
Yes. And something that was mentioned, grief and loss are a part of life and may trigger us a huge heart opening. And oh my gosh, that is a powerful statement. That is so true.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that I wrote a lot about that in this book, which is the one about heartbreak, Love in a Time of Broken Heart. But absolutely, and I think that when we have a broken heart, it's when we're open. It's, you know, the late Leonard Cohen, he said, you know, there is a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in, you know, in his singing. So it's very much about how there is power in, there's a healing element in our wounds. Our wounds are actually conduits to self-development and growth and unconditional love in the case of heartbreak, I believe.
Yes, yes, so true. And, you know, that's, you know, loss and grief can really, I mean, it can take us down such a different path and open new things. And it is possible, would you say, we all, you know, can personally heal ourselves, you know, such as, and dreams can help heal us, but really the healing comes from inside, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that the essence of my teachings really, and of this book, is that healing comes from within, that it's by connecting, doing stuff that we were never taught to do. You know, really, we were always taught to look outside of ourselves for happiness and love and all of this. But it's actually going within, and that within there is a treasure. And there's an inner healer. In Jungian psychology, we call it the archetype of the inner healer. And that we need to trust in ourselves. Now, okay, you know, it can take a long time. And as I say, I'm well past middle age now, getting to that. But increasingly young children and young people are looking for that spiritual guidance, you know, to find their way, I believe, more than a sort of psychological understanding. I don't know whether you'd agree with that.
Yes, yes. And because many times we can base our healing, our happiness on when I get this, when that happens, when that happiness is right here in this moment. You know, just cherishing that moment. And something in your book that I just loved was, you mentioned that in the natural world, there is unconditional love that animals can teach us. Unconditional love that mystics wrote about. And so tell us a little bit, your thoughts. How would you describe unconditional love?
I suppose I describe unconditional love as just a big feeling, a heart opening, so that you feel love for everything and everyone, but there are no conditions attached to it, i.e. you just, and it's compassion. You have compassion and empathy so that no matter who the people are, or even if you've had difficulty with them in the past, or that you go beyond the ego to just this feeling of compassion and opening. And when I was right, I had a beautiful soul companion, my dog, and I put she's part of my dedication. Well, she died just after I finished the book, and it was such a loss to me, because dogs will love you no matter what.
Yes.
They don't ask you to be a particular way, but generally, it's hard for the human being, for us, to have unconditional love, for example, for our partners or whoever, well, you're not behaving the way I want you to behave, or it's very hard to have unconditional love. And I think that animals and nature teach us that.
Yes.
Don't they? There's a constancy there.
They do. They teach it, because that's what they are. Yeah, that's what they do. And you've had so many amazing trainings and shaman training. And I just am such a fan of that. Tell us about that, what your shamanic training did and how that kind of changed your perspective maybe in what you do, and how we can do that with what we do every day.
Right. Thank you for asking me that. I actually talk about that a little bit, but I didn't have any formal training per se. It's just along my journey, because I was on a spiritual path and always interested in, alternative medicine, healing, and all of this. I would have spent some time in Mexico doing some training with some shamans, and also learning about herbs. But I guess what the question you asked me is how did it change me? Really, what changed me was more the sense of opening to the spiritual and to the divine. And I actually think that happened to me when I was a baby, that I was born into it. Because I was thinking about this the other day. My parents arrived here after the Second World War. They were, foreigners in Ireland, very, very poor, and coming to a very poor rural area, and having to make a living. I was born very prematurely and was in the local hospital for a long time. I was brought up, with a local wise woman, Irish type of, what I consider a wise woman. She was a little kind of unusual lady, and she would have instilled in me a lot about the spirits and, the Irish mythology around all of that. So I think I was always sort of open to it. And I mean, I feel so rooted here where I live. That doesn't mean I haven't lived. I've lived in the UK, I've lived in London, I've lived in Dublin. I now have a small little home in Spain, because it's so cold here in the winter. I need to get away. My bones are getting, oldish. And so, but I feel very rooted to the energy of the land.
Oh,
Most.
I love that. And in your book, you mentioned something called inner marriage. Explain to us what that is.
Okay, well, the inner marriage is a Jungian term Jung used to describe the balance of the masculine and feminine within, the two aspects of us, the meeting of opposites. Usually it's our feminine and our masculine natures, and how balanced they may be. And generally speaking, in our life, we're always looking for that sort of balance. So we may project it. We generally project it onto the people we fall in love with, or our intimate partners. So we find somebody who may represent something that we haven't yet developed in ourselves. Maybe if we're I give an example, I suppose, if our parents wanted us to, if our fathers wanted us to become a professional and a lawyer or something, and secretly we really prefer to be a dancer, we might fall in love with the dancer then, so that we're seeing the other side of ourselves. So the inner marriage is a sense of wholeness within, which we all seek and we all naturally try and get to. And whether it's the marriage of the divine and the human, or the marriage of the conscious and the unconscious, or the marriage of the masculine and feminine, it's a sense of balance and wholeness within.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know whether I explained it well.
You did, you did, you did. And, you know, something that is so wonderful is how you combine psychology with spirituality. And that really is a wonderful thing, that we can pull from this knowledge and we can pull from this knowledge, and that can work together to just help us grow and, you know, raise our vibration, raise our joy,
Exactly.
our love. I love that.
Oh, exactly. And you know, and I think all we'd ask of any of us is just to be open, to have that heart opening, and to be light in ourselves, so we can you know, step out of the material a little bit, of the being bogged down by the material, because the earth itself, you know, the planet and the earth and the ground, you know, is alive. It's part of the heartbeat of the world. So we're connected with that. And I totally agree with you. Now is the time. We need to raise our vibration and understand that, you know, we have the power to change things and to heal. We have tremendous power. It's just that we lose touch with that, and we're not conditioned to thinking that, you know, we are okay, really, that are not more that we have that ability. As I said, we tend to be conditioned to looking and to giving away our power, aren't we?
Oh, so true, so true. And to realize that we have the power to do so much and to do, you know, create so much in ourselves. Really, that's exciting. That is a beautiful thing to realize.
I think so. And even to realize, you know, in the book, in the Red Room, I just talk about the dark night of the soul, which everybody, apart from maybe children, or even children, are experiencing it now. But everybody, when we get to a certain age, we'll have had a few dark nights of the soul, which are periods of depression and being low, especially after a bereavement or something like this. And so to actually know that we can go through this and come out the other side and be stronger is amazing. And in other words, that there's a message in all of this for us and an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, I love it. Well, with just a few minutes left in the show, what last message do you want to share with everyone today? And please share your website, how everyone can learn more about you.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, first of all, the message I want to give is that, you know, we must combine spirituality in our work. We must have a spiritual practice and become more open to the spiritual aspect in order to heal. Yes, I'm setting up, my website is www.Benig Mauger, which is my name. Will I spell it, or will they have that on the screen? BenigMauger.com.
Yeah. Go ahead and spell it out for us as well.
Okay, so www.BenigMauger.com.
Wonderful.
It's also soulconnections.com/soul connections. That was my website. Is very old now, because I was I've had it for years and I'm struggling with the technology. But that being said, I would love readers and viewers to come to my website, because I'm just setting up now weekly and monthly satsangs, you know, spiritual meetings with meditations and a monthly discussion group where people will have a chance to, I'll cover a topic and people will have a chance to bring in some of their own material. So that's being set up at the moment. But there's also a lot on the website. There's some webinars, audio podcasts, and things like that. So I'd like to encourage people. And also, I hope you'll get the book. I think you will love it, actually.
Yes, yes. The Soul in the Sea. It was just fantastic. And that's awesome what you're offering through your website. That is wonderful.
It's a new endeavor, which I'm getting help with how to set it up. It's like a monthly subscription type of thing where people can sign on. Because in my life now, I try not to, I'm overwhelmed with, individual sessions, but I feel I can reach more people and share my teachings with more people by doing these weekly sessions.
Those sound fantastic. Please share that website to sign up for that one more time, please.
So it's www.benigmauger, BenigMauger.com. Yeah, that's it.
I love it. And I just really want to give you a heartfelt thank you for all you've done over the years, all the amazing books you've written. That is just a gift to all of us. Do you see yourself writing another book?
Well, sometimes I do, Paula, because I love writing, and I'm a bit kind of a poet, really, in my nature. Maybe, but I'm 71 years old now, and but I love writing, so you never know.
You never know. I love it. I love it.
Exactly, because I don't plan these things; they kind of happen organically.
I love it. Oh, well, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Hugs, love, and blessings. And Benig, love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much.